In this series of videos, we're going to be taking a look at Microsoft Office 2013, Excel 2013 Unit A, which is Getting Started with Excel 2013. Some of the objectives from this first series of videos for Unit A is that we're going to be able to understand spreadsheet software, we're going to be able to identify the Excel 2013 window components, you should be able to understand formulas, enter labels and values and use the AutoSum button, edit cell entries, enter and edit a simple formula, switch worksheet views, and be able to choose different print options. Now the first thing we have to take a look at, and of course this is the information that we're going to be looking at on page Excel 2, is that Microsoft Excel is an electronic spreadsheet program. And this is what we have within the Microsoft suite. And of course, an electronic spreadsheet is an application that you use to perform numeric calculations and to analyze and present numeric data. One advantage of a spreadsheet program over pencil and paper is that your calculations are updated automatically, so that you can change entries without having to manually recalculate everything on there. And of course, in Excel, the electronic spreadsheet that you work with is what we call a worksheet. And of course it is contained in the file for Excel, which is called a workbook. And of course a workbook, the file extension that a workbook has is .xlsx, and of course that is the file extension. So if you see a file name and it's followed by .xlsx, then you know that that is an electronic spreadsheet used in Microsoft Excel. Now, of course, when would you want to use Excel? And that was the main thing that's on there. And what are some advantages of using Excel? Well, first of all, Excel allows you to enter data quickly and accurately. Because with Excel, you can enter information faster and more accurately than with paper and pencil. Now, you can use Excel to add equations that will automatically do your calculations for you. And of course, then you can use Excel to recreate this information by copying the worksheet structure, and the information in it shouldn't change from week to week. And then of course then you can put in the unique data, and of course the formulas will automatically calculate your information. Of course you can also use a quick analysis tool to easily create charts and other elements that will help you visualize how your data is distributed. And you know, this is one very important thing that's on there, is because it will go through there and allows you to quickly put this in. It's very easy to use. One of the second things that you do while you're in Excel is that, and a benefit of it is going to be that it recalculates your data easily. If you properly set up a spreadsheet on there, it will automatically do your recalculations for you when you type in new information. And of course, fixing typing errors or updating data is very easy in Excel. For an example, if you were running a payroll on there, if you have the spreadsheet set up and you receive updated hours for an employee, all you have to do is input in the new hours, and Excel in the spreadsheet is automatically going to recalculate your pay. Now, Excel also allows us to perform what-if analysis. And of course that is where we have the ability to change data and quickly view the recalculated results. Is going to give you the power to make informed business decisions. For an example, if you're considering raising your hourly rate for an employee from maybe $12 to $15, you can enter in the new value in the worksheet and immediately see the impact on the overall payroll as well on the individual employee. And anytime you use a worksheet to ask the question, what if, then you're performing what we call a what-if analysis. And of course Excel also includes a scenario manager where you can name and save different what-if versions of your worksheet. A personal example for yourself may be if that you kept your grades located on an Excel spreadsheet. You may say, well, what if I get this on my next test? And of course, if you put in your information into Excel and you have your formulas created properly, you could easily pull that information up and say, well, if I get a 90 on my next test, what's that going to do to my overall grade? And you could be able to perform that very quickly in Excel. Of course, Excel also allows you to change the appearance of information. And of course, Excel provides very powerful features such as the quick analysis tool for making information visually appealing and easy to understand. Of course, you can also format text and numbers in different fonts, colors, and styles to make it stand out. Also in Excel, it's very easy to create charts, and you can use these create these charts based on worksheet information. And of course, charts are going to be automatically updated whenever the data inside of Excel in the worksheet changes. And of course, that's a very powerful tool. So if you had to make a change into your data, your charts that are linked to that data is automatically updated. Of course, Excel allows you to share information. And of course, it's very easy to collaborate in Excel using either in a company intranet or even across the internet or a network storage device like a server. And of course, maybe for an example, you can complete the weekly payroll that your boss started creating, and then you can continue it on. And you can also take advantage of those collaboration tools, maybe such as a shared workbook, so that multiple people can edit a workbook simultaneously. So many people can get in there and make some changes into this workbook. And of course, as well, Excel allows you to build on previous work. So instead of creating a new worksheet for every project, it's easy to modify an existing worksheet. And of course, when you're ready to create a new worksheet, maybe such as if you're doing the payroll for a company and you're wanting to do the next week's payroll, you can open up the file from maybe your last week's payroll, save it with a new file name, and modify the information as you see necessary. Now, of course, you can also use pre-designed formats called templates to create new worksheets quickly. And of course, Excel comes with many templates that you can customize. Now, something else, another feature that's in Excel is what we call the flash fill. And that's a feature that makes it easy to fill a range of text based on existing examples. So if you type in Control E, if Excel correctly matches the information you want, and it'll be entered in the cell for you. So that is a nice feature of Excel as well. Of course, if we move, this is an example here of an Excel spreadsheet. Of course, we have our information. We see that over here. We have our data. And of course, over here we have a 3D pie chart, which is pulled from this data. So, and of course, this is an example of a payroll. And of course, if we make changes over here, then this chart is going to automatically update as well. In your textbooks, flip over to page Excel 4, and we're going to be taking a look at identifying the Excel 2013 window components on there. So I'm going to escape out of this PowerPoint presentation and open up Excel. And of course, you need to open up the file EXA1 from the core sites. And of course, once again, similar to as in Word, it will probably open up in a protected view. And of course, if it doesn't, you can skip this step, but you want to click on Enable Editing, and that way so you can edit this worksheet. And of course, to start Excel, Microsoft Windows must be running, and similar to starting any other program in Office, you can use the Start Screen thumbnail or icon, I should say, on your desktop, or you can use the Start button on your taskbar as well. Or of course, if you're running Windows Windows 8, you can actually use the Start Screen thumbnail on there as well. And of course, if you have any problems with this, you can always see your instructor, and that will be able to help you open up Excel. But once we open this up, and of course we open up, and this is the EXA1, and of course you see the file extension there once again of .xlsx. And of course, then we want to do a save as. We want to save this file name as something different. And this is as similar as you would in Word. You would click on File, go to Save As, and then you can save it to your computer where you store your files. For example, if I want to save it onto my desktop, I can, or if, my documents. And I'm going to save this file as EXA Trip Advisor Payroll Calculator. Once I have the file name in there, I can click on Save, and of course you'll notice that the file name has been changed up in the title bar on our window. So now let's go through and let's take a look around and navigate through our Excel window. One of the first things, of course, you'll probably notice is very similar to Word, is that, of course, we do have our title bar up here, which has the name of our file as well as the name of the program. We do have our quick access toolbar up here, just like we did in Word, and similar buttons. We have our save, of course, our undo, redo, and then of course we have our customize area where we can customize the buttons that is in this quick access toolbar. We also over here have our help button, as well as the ribbon display options. If you find that your ribbon is not currently up and all you see is these tabs, you can click on this button here and you can either auto hide the ribbon, or you can have it just show the tabs, or you can show the tabs and commands, and that's usually one of the best ones so you can see all the tabs and the commands all the time. Then of course we do have our minimize, maximize, restore button, and we have our close button that's on there as well. And of course we do have some tabs. Many of these have similar names as they did in Word, like such as home, insert, page layout, but we do have some different ones on there as well, such as formula and data on there, and we'll become more familiar as we go through our Excel. Once we get below our tabs and ribbon, one of the first things that we see here is what we call the name box, and of course this displays the active cell address on there, and of course we see that A1 is our active cell address. And if we notice down here in our spreadsheet that this cell is highlighted, and of course the letter A is a different color in bold and the number 1 is a different color in bold, and that is what we call our active cell. And of course you can change the active cell just by clicking on the cell. Of course, once again, if we take a look on here, of course remember that a cell is ultimately just an intersection of a row and column. Of course, next what we have on here, this whole area right here is what we call the formula bar. And this allows us to enter data or edit data in the worksheet. And of course we do have a few buttons that's on here. We do have a cancel button or undo button per se on there. We have an enter button here, that's this check mark, and we also have this little FX button, and of course you may notice the screen tip on there, and that's our insert function button on there. And of course whatever we have in our cells is going to be located here in the formula bar. Of course, underneath that, this is the worksheet window, and of course this contains a grid of columns and rows. And of course our columns are labeled alphabetically, as we see A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Once we reach all the way to Z, then it starts the alphabet doubling up, so it goes A, B, on there as well. So if we would just continue over, there's A, B, A, C, and of course you can continue on, and it just cycles through the alphabet multiple times on there. Now of course the rows are going to be numbered as well, so they're going to be just numerical on there, going from 1, and you can enter in a lot of information on there, because actually the worksheet window can contain a total of 1,048,576 rows and a total of 16,384 columns. So you can imagine there's a lot of information that you can put in on this. Now of course, as we said before, the intersection of a column and row is what we call a cell. So we have column A and row 1, and that leaves us with this cell here, which we see in the cell name box, is A1. And that's how you name a cell, is that you start off with its location. And we call this also the cell address. And of course, it's really just is identified by its coordinates of the intersecting row and column. So we start off by the column, which is running straight up and down, and we see that it's column A and row 1, and that's what gives us our cell name. Now of course every cell has a unique location or cell address on there, and of course the column and row indicators are shaded to make identifying the cell address easy. So if I was over here, this may be a little bit more difficult, except for I see that the P is highlighted and shaded, and the number 19 is highlighted and shaded, so I can see that also in the name box up here that this is P19. As well, we also have our cell pointer, and of course the cell pointer is a dark rectangle that outlines the cell you're working in. So our cell pointer right here is this box that surrounds the A1 that's on there. And of course this cell is called the active cell. Now the column and row headings once again are highlighted for this active cell, so it's easier to locate its name and to know exactly where you're at. And of course down here is our worksheet area in which we have all of our cells and everything. Now underneath all of our cells we have here, and these are the sheet tabs. Of course right now we just have one sheet on here, and these are below the worksheet grid, and it lets you switch from sheet to sheet in a workbook. Now by default a workbook contains only one worksheet. Now this is a little bit of a difference between previous versions of Excel where it would open up 3 worksheets for you right off the bat. But in 2013 they just have just one sheet by default. Now you can have as many as 255 worksheets in this workbook or in this file. Now the new sheet button just to the right of sheet 1, and that is this plus sign here, it's going to allow you to add worksheets to a workbook. And of course if we would click on that, we notice that a new sheet appears and they call it sheet 2. Now we can click on these little tabs down here, these sheet tabs, to switch back and forth. Now we also have some buttons here as well, and these are going to be called the sheet tab scrolling buttons, and of course it allows you to navigate to additional sheet tabs when they're available. So if we have these and we have multiple tabs here, then you could use these to move between different sheets. But since our little bar right here is not full, they're going to remain grayed out and not active where we can't use those just yet. In addition to this, of course, we also have, similar to Word, we do have scroll bars. We have our vertical scroll bars here versus our horizontal scroll bar here. Now, one difference you'll notice is that, of course, the horizontal scroll bar is only part of this area down here where our sheet tab is located at, as well as our navigation buttons. Now, right below that, we do have our status bar, and it's located at the bottom of the Excel window. And really, it provides a brief description of the active command or task in process. Now, the mode indicator, which we see right here as it says ready, is the lower left corner of the status bar, and it provides additional information about the task that you are conducting. If we take a look at step 5 on page Excel 4, it tells us that we want to click on cell A4. And when we do that, we notice that the cell pointer has now moved down to A4, and the column A is highlighted and the number 4 is highlighted. And that makes cell A4 become the active cell. Now, to activate a different cell, you can click the cell, or you can actually press the arrow keys on your keyboard to move it around. If we take a look on step 6, it tells us that we want to click on cell B5. So if we click on cell B5, on there, that makes cell B5 the active cell. But if we click and hold our mouse button on cell B5 and we drag our mouse pointer to B14 and then release our mouse button, what we've done is that we have selected a group of cells, and of course what you can see that they're highlighted. Now, a selection of 2 or more cells, such as this B5 to B14, is what we call a range. And of course you select a range when you want to perform an action on a group of cells at once, such as moving them or formatting them. Now when you select a range, the status bar displays the average, which we see down here, and we can see the average is 37.8. Also, it shows us the count, which tells us how many we have selected, so there's 10 of these items here. And also shows the sum, which we see that the total of all these numbers is 387. And of course, and these are just quick references. So if you wanted to know that right off the bat without having to enter in a formula or do a calculation, that information is there for you at the bottom. And of course, the button that displays in the bottom right corner of the range is what we call the quick analysis tools that's on there. And of course, if we see that, and that's this button right here, and there you see there's the quick analysis. And you would use this tool to quickly and easily analyze your data with some of the Excel's useful tools such as charts, color coding, and also formulas as well. Now, of course, if you don't see the extension up here, the or XLSX in the file names, such as maybe in the Save As dialog box, don't worry. You can actually set windows to display these extensions, or you can actually set them to where you don't see them on there as well. Now, of course, similar to Word, you can also use SkyDrive and Office web apps. And if you have a free Microsoft account, you can actually save your Excel files to a SkyDrive, which is a free cloud-based service from Microsoft. And when you save files to SkyDrive, you can access them on other devices such as a tablet or a smartphone. SkyDrive is available as an app on smartphones, which makes access very easy. You can open files and view them on any device, and you can even make edits to them using Office web apps, which are simplified versions of the apps found in Office 2013 suite. Now, because the web apps are online, they take up no computer disk space, and you can use them on any internet-connected device. And you can find more information on this if you do a search for working in the cloud, or in your textbook in the appendix section in the back, you can look on working on the cloud. And that's concluding the information that's on pages Excel 1 to Excel 5. We'll move on to the next page, Excel 6, in the next video, and where we're going to be talking about understanding formulas. So make sure that you have your spreadsheet open, and if you want to, make sure you can go ahead and save that. We haven't made any changes yet, but you can go ahead and save it, and you're ready to move on to the next video.